Hello everyone, welcome back to the stream. It's Saturday, and you know what that means. It's time for weekend kickoff, our awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class to get us going into the weekend. Hi. It's feeling earlier than 9 a.m. usually does. I don't know why. Maybe because I went outside this morning and I couldn't see the mountains because there's so much forest fire haze from Colorado and California, and like this entire half of the country, I think, is just on fire right now. So great work, climate change deniers. Good morning. Oh, yay, good to see you this morning. I hope everybody had a good week, a good night. If you were here on the stream last night, I did not end up making cookies. I did make popcorn, and actually what I ended up doing, I suddenly realized that it had been literally not since the beginning of March that I had like put on makeup and fancy clothes, because the last time I did that was I was going to a theater production at the beginning of March that got unceremoniously truncated because COVID. And, you know, obviously there hasn't really been any reason to like dress up in a while. And I was suddenly like, I feel like dressing up a little bit. Just not for any particular reason, just for myself. So I got all dressed up and I actually put on makeup for the first time. And, well, first I had to find my makeup because it was not where I thought it was. So that took a few minutes. And I just took some fun selfies, and it felt really nice to just be like, I don't have to do this that often right now, because I basically live in either, shorts and a tank top or exercise clothes. But it's nice to remind myself of how fun it can be to get a little dressy. So I highly recommend it. If you too realize that it has been 5 or 6 months since you last got all dressed up as if you were going to a fancy occasion, I highly recommend trying it out. Obviously, none of us are going to super fancy occasions right now, but that doesn't mean we can't dress like it. And sometimes that can help to just make you feel a little more stable and a little more normalized. Oh man, it's gonna be an interesting weekend. There's a lot to get done, and I'm definitely, as I get older, I'm much better about identifying the cycles of my brain, which is good. But just because you can identify something is happening doesn't always mean that you can stop it from happening. So on the days and weeks when I am moving through a period where it feels like I have to wrestle my brain a little bit more to get things done, they feel a little more frustrating almost now that I can recognize them so much more efficiently, but I do also have to give myself credit that I can move out of them a little more easily, and one of the ways that I do that is by taking class with you. Well, teaching class to you, and also taking it along with you. So we're going to have an awesome morning. We're going to have a nice, relatively simple, not easy, but simple class, and we're just going to get ourselves all pumped up for the weekend and then see where it takes us. Ooh, hopefully not out into the ash-dappled sky, because that's not good for anybody's lung health, even if you don't have conditions that might make it even worse for your lung health. Man, I grew up in Hawaii, and we used to have sugarcane fields all over Maui. And part of the harvesting process was literally setting fire to the fields. And it never occurred to me how awful that must have been for anyone with like asthma or COPD or anything going on with their lungs. Because it was constant, it was at least once a month that some field somewhere would be on fire for several days. And it was just something that we accepted as okay from the sugarcane companies. I don't know. we've all accepted a lot of things in our lives that we probably shouldn't have. But we're here and we're going to exercise. Woo! All right, let's do our pre-class checklist. As you can see, water. I promise I'm going to wash my... I promise I'm going to wash that water bottle. I swear I will. I will before Tuesday. I will be using the water bottle again, but we're still using the pint glass right now. We got our comfy clothes on. We've got our mats situated behind us, and if you're using a fitness wearable, now is the time to turn it on. High intensity interval training is a good setting for this class. Woo, woo, woo. All right. Let's get going. Okay. Yay! Oh, no, I love having you in chat. Even if you're, honestly, and here's the thing, folks, even if you're not able to take class, like just having people in chat hanging out is so fun. It's so fun. It's just, you know, it's an enjoyable way to just hang out and talk to each other and show you an exercise class that you could then do later, because obviously VODs and YouTube channel. So love it. Love to see it. Glad you're getting stuff done, because that's also important. All right. So for those of us who are doing class, good. You know, it's important. It's important to get out there and take some time. And it doesn't have to be a lot of time, but I'm glad you're taking some time. So yeah, let me see. I'm still so cautious with these glasses. It's going to go on for a while. It's been a long time since I've had new glasses that I have to like take care of. All right, so over to our mats. Woo, woo, woo. Oh God, just awkwardly flopping my way to the mat. All right, we're going to do 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee. We are going to go ahead and start with our hip rocks and bridges. Hopefully I have the timer turned up high enough. Yep, I think that's high enough. So here we go. Oh, man. Oh, and remembering, I say this a lot, but it's, I think, a comforting reminder when we're doing a morning class on a weekend that we do not have to, nor should we be, we don't have to push ourselves to 110% right now. This is the warm up. Its purpose is to warm us up, to help us boot up systems, to help us turn on the processes in our brains and in our muscle fibers that are going to allow us to exercise for the next hour. So we don't need to be going for ultimate height and intensity. We just need to be changing over to the other side and making sure that we're engaging the right muscle groups and just letting our bodies and our brains, you know, turn on all of these systems. Our brain starts going, oh, okay, we're going to be using a lot of muscle work right now, so I need to make sure that I'm prepared to send the appropriate signals, electrical signals down there to stimulate action in the muscle fibers. And my muscle fibers are going, ooh, apparently there's work for us to do. We better turn on our energy production systems so that we are getting appropriately fueled. And once we get to, you know, the cardio section, our cardiovascular system will start going, oh, hey, there seems to be an increased need for oxygen right now. Let's get that going. All right. Oh, rolling over onto our sides, doing our best Jane Fonda impression. Remember, we're going for a nice straight line of the body. Okay, so if you struggle with sensing whether you are in a straight line, and that's part of the reason that I talk about like learning awareness of our body's spatial positioning. But if that's still something that you're working on, then use the front line of your mat. Your mat is probably cut in a straight line, and if it isn't, then I want to see a picture of your yoga mat, because that would be real funky looking. But it provides a nice measurement for you to use when you don't have, me in your living room being able to go, oh, just, scoot this back and do this thing. All right, top foot flat on the floor in front of that bottom leg. We're lifting the bottom leg. Here we are, just chilling. Moving ever closer to our best, swimsuit calendar pose. Does anybody even make those anymore? I'm sure they do. It just feels like such a relic. The whole like Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. It feels like such a relic of like the 90s. And I know it predated that. I know it's older than I am, obviously, but it just, yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of those like weird little things from my youth that I haven't heard about in, popular culture in ages. I'm sure they still exist, but it's just kind of weird to see the things that fade in and fade out. All right, foot behind that bottom knee, still lifting the bottom leg. Here we are, nice and relaxed. We're still lying on the floor. We're still not really having to engage many muscle groups aside from in our legs, right now our inner thighs, and a little bit of the lower obliques, the lower abdominals right here. So I want you to really sense that as you're lifting this leg. Do you feel that engagement right here? Just in the lower part of your abdominals. It's not a huge engagement. Obviously, it's not driving the motion, but it does get in on the party, okay? So always take these slower, these quieter moments to really tune in to what your body is doing in any given exercise. All right, switching over. And I haven't given this reminder in a while. You don't have to switch over in the way that I do. Obviously, it is more efficient for you to just roll over onto your other side and do all three of the exercises again. I have to, do my awkward swing around on the mat because if I roll over onto my other side, then I'm not actually facing the camera anymore. When you are exercising just to exercise, efficiency is a totally valid and useful strategy. Particularly as practice for our perpetual motion timers, where we're trying to move from one exercise to the next with using the minimum amount of time to transition. So always keep that in mind. Just because I seem to be taking the longer way around to start something does not mean that you have to do the same. All right, that foot's now flat on the floor in front of that bottom knee, lifting that bottom leg. If this is your less flexible hip, you may need to engage some of the muscles in that hip socket to help keep the knee trying to point up towards the ceiling. As with all things, we don't really want the knee caving forward, okay? That is our through line. We don't like the knee caving in, okay? So really engaging the muscles that go around our hip socket is going to help pull that knee backwards, point it up towards the ceiling, and as you get stronger and more flexible in that hip, it will become easier to do. All right, now foot behind that bottom knee, still lifting the bottom leg. Here we are. This is our last leg exercise before we move into waking up our backs and our hips. So let us enjoy, because we're about to get a little more mobile, about to stand up. We've had a nice run of lying kind of relaxedly on the floor, just moving, one limb at a time. But soon, very, very soon, we're going to be chaining movement together. Oh, man. But that's why you're here. That's why you're here at 9 a.m. on a Saturday, or 8 a.m. if you're on the West Coast, or 11 a.m. if you're on the East Coast. All right, here we go. Time for those scorpion twists. Oh, golly. Sometimes I really enjoy doing exercises like this because they do provide you with an opportunity to sort of give yourself a home chiropractic adjustment. And as somebody who misses her chiropractor appointments, this can be a really satisfying thing to feel. So if you feel a little bit of nice popping along your spine or in your hips, hopefully that feels good. If it doesn't feel good, you might want to talk to your doctor. But if it does feel good, then just enjoy the sensation. Remember to keep those elbows planted firmly on the ground. They are not going anywhere until now, as we stand up and we start doing our torso rotations, holding our imaginary PVC pipe over our heads. One of these days I'm going to get an actual PVC pipe for this and just shock everybody. I'll actually be holding a PVC pipe. Oh my God. I'm sure I could just grab one at McGuckin's. It's not like it's an exotic piece of equipment. And if you ever get one for yourself, there is a modification to the way that we do the squats in the warm-up that I would happily start adding in if more people actually had that piece of piping while they were doing that exercise, or at least letting people know about it. But for now, we're just holding our imaginary pipe above our heads. Welcome to our first run of squats for the day. What do we do here? We check in on our form. How are our knees doing? Are they going straight over our feet as we go down? Yes? Awesome. Are they staying in that line as we stand up? Or are they trying to cave in towards each other? If it's the latter, narrow your stance a little bit, okay? And just go, all right, here I can maintain that positioning the whole time. So I'll keep to the narrower stance until I feel strong enough to come back to the wider stance and see if I now can maintain it the whole time. Oh, all right, Samson stretches, reaching our arms straight up towards the ceiling, switching legs each time, really feeling that stretch along the front of the hip flexor. Remember, we're keeping our hips pointing forward, so no opening out into a warrior two or anything. We are not doing that. The hips should stay pointing forward the whole time, no matter where I am in this position. So imagine that you have headlights on your pelvic bones, and they should be pointing forward no matter what, okay? And remember to exhale. Try and sink a little more deeply into the stretch each time you go down. See if you can get a little farther into it, okay? All right. Now, turning back to the front, taking that nice deep squat position. Knees over feet again. It's easier because we've got our hands on our knees, so they can lever them out, which is very convenient. And we're just moving one shoulder at a time in towards the midline, and then the other. So the only thing that is moving are our shoulders. We're not bouncing up and down out of the squat. We're not letting our knees chase after our shoulders as they come in. We are holding everything else steady in a held position and just twisting and stretching with our shoulders, getting a little bit of that twist into the back. All right. Ah, yeah. Now we've reached it. Now we have hit the cardio portion of our warm-up. So we start with our jumping jacks. Because they're easy and are something that almost all of us will have done at some point. You know, it's one of those foundational exercises that if you've ever been in a PE class, you have learned how to jumping jack. And, you know, it's not difficult. Like, there's not a ton going on with the form here, but we are also doing the bare minimum because, again, we're not trying to go for 100% energy use right now. We've still got almost 45 minutes of class left when our warm-up is done. So we don't want to be running through all of our energy right off the bat and having nothing left for the rest of class. Hang on, you're doing kick-throughs. I just gotta, man. This AC system drives me bonkers. Oh well, it'll be okay. Comment in chat if you too struggle with an AC system that doesn't always seem to be doing its work. But here we are doing kick-throughs, so remembering that there are a lot of components to the kick-through. So if you have to move kind of slowly through it, that is totally fine. I would rather you move slowly through it and get the form correct than immediately try to be pushing for speed, switching from side to side. All right, here we are. Last but not least, we've reached them. We know them. We hate them. Well, I like them, but to be fair, it took me a long time to get to that determination. It's burpees. Making sure that from this plank position, we do a wave push-up, all right? No plank push-ups here. And then a nice victory clap at the top as we jump. Jump and clap. Oh, that was a quiet clap, Blanche. You can do better than that. There we go. Siri has been thinking that I was trying to talk to him for the last Lord knows how long. I'm not sure I understand. Yeah. Jesus. Seriously, I am not trying to talk to you. Please leave me alone. All right, my friends. Good job. Well warmed up. Window unit at home. Also, oh yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, yes. So again, we talk about spatial awareness a lot. And it's important if you're in a gym, okay? It's important if you're in a gym, you're surrounded by super heavy equipment and people using that equipment. You want to make sure that you're not going to knock into somebody doing something with a kettlebell, or run into a rack or anything like that. It is just as important, if not more important, in your living room, because this is not a space, generally, that has been designed for exercise. So, you know, if you have a ceiling fan, yes, please be careful when you're doing any of the exercises that require you to jump and raise your arms towards the sky, okay? If we're doing those side-to-side mat jumps, make sure you know where you're going to land so that you're not accidentally knocking a bookcase over or knocking a TV over onto yourself. You know, it's good practice, honestly, doing class in this kind of space that's not necessarily set up perfectly for exercise. It gives us that creativity to realize that we can get our workout in no matter whether or not we have the perfect perfect location for it. But it is so important that we have that understanding of what is around us, how we might interact with it, and whether that interaction would end well or badly, which, spoiler alert, if that interaction is I knock into a ceiling fan, it's always going to end badly for us. Yeah. Always make sure to move out of the fan's range when we do anything that we're jumping. All right. Water. Okay, my loves, let's get going. We are going to start out with a perpetual motion timer, 30-second work intervals. We're going to have 3 exercises. We're going to go through them 3 times each. So, our first exercise is going to be a familiar one, but with a slight twist. So we're going to do push-up to downward dog. However, it's going to be a one-armed downward dog. So, again, you can do push-up from your knees, from the plank. You can do a wave, what have you. The requirements for the push-ups are you make sure that your shoulders are directly over your wrists, no matter where, butt's out of the air, and you're keeping your elbows right by your sides as you do the push-up, so you're not letting them fan out, okay? Once you've done the push-up, we're gonna push back to downward dog. Take one arm off the floor, touch our opposite shoulder. Back and push up, and other arm. And we're just gonna go back and forth, side to side. Make sure you're alternating which arm comes off the floor in the downward dog, okay? Then we're gonna do turtle stance. So you know, anything with turtle in the name means that we start like that, rolling onto our shoulders, then up onto our feet. Then we're just gonna stand. Not even adding the jump in, just stand and stand and stand. And remember, if you have difficulty getting up onto your feet just through momentum alone, you can use a hand to push yourself up, okay? And then our third exercise is going to be front superhero. So lying on your stomach, arms and legs extended, and we're just lifting arms, legs, and chest off the floor and holding. If you want to add a little movement in, you can bend your arms at the elbow and then extend them behind you, and then bend at the elbow and extend them in front of you. So if you want to add that little bit of movement in, you can, but we're not doing the pulsing up and down version. We are doing the held version today. All right, so those are our exercises. Push-ups to a one-armed downward dog, then turtle stands, then front superhero. And we are doing, make sure to put the right number of reps. And remember, it's a 30-second work interval, but it's a perpetual motion set. So be prepared to start as soon as you hear the timer go. Ready? Hey. So pushing up into the downward dog, touch that hand to the opposite shoulder, and then again on the other side, okay? And if you want to do the push-ups from your knees, that is totally fine. Come to this plank position first before you put your knees down, so that you're still maintaining most of that plank position, and then do the push-up. All right, and now, turtle stands. I almost started jumping, because it's been a while since I think I've given you just straight up turtle stance. So this is not a hugely complex exercise, but you do still want to engage your core, because as we're moving quickly, standing up, we want to make sure that our weight isn't going in any directions that we're not intending it to go. All right, here we are for our front superhero. Remember, you can add that arm motion in if you need a little movement, but otherwise, we're just holding up here until that horn goes off again, and we are able to go back to our push-ups, okay? So, hey, there we go. And look at that. How easy is that transition from the front superhero into the push-ups? That was beautiful. All we had to do was put our hands down on the floor, basically, and we were there. So always enjoy those times when one exercise to the next is as simple as slightly shifting the plane that you're on. Oh man, look, let me tell you, this has nothing to do with form, but having glasses that are not in danger of falling off of my head every time I do something is just so miraculous. I am, oh my God, so thrilled right now. Look at this. I can look down and they don't go anywhere because they can actually stay on my face. Even as I'm sweating a little bit, they're still chilling there. Oh, it's so satisfying because that means that I don't have to spend as much time taking my glasses off and putting them on again in class, which is really nice. All right, my friends, you are here at the last time through. So back to those push-ups, to the one-arm downward dog. Check in on that form. Make sure your core is engaged, your glutes are engaged. You want a nice plank position. Even if you're doing a wave, even if you're doing it from the knees, you're still starting and ending in that plank. And you want to make sure that it is a solid plank. All right, now to those turtle stands. Remember to just have fun with this motion. This exercise is about 90%, let's get some momentum going, just rolling around on the floor, and 10%, okay, now I'm gonna engage my muscles to do a thing. But, I mean, you know how much I love them, but always try to find the fun bits in anything that we're doing, you know, because the more that we can have fun, the easier it is to maintain exercise. And now coming back around, our final run of the front superheroes. I do love this one. It's so weird, but it can feel really, really exciting because, you know, I put it in the ab exercise category, but it also requires those back muscles too. Those, like, in order to hold myself up like this, I need to have those back muscles engaged as well. So it just provides a lot of fun. A lot of fun. All right, my friends. No, go away. All right, let's grab some water. Yay, hydration. Oh man. All right. It's amazing. You know, I almost always start these classes feeling a little, you know, a little tired, a little like hazy in my brain. And as soon as we get through that first set, that's when I start to feel the energy. And that's why doing this class as a way to start off your weekend is so fun, because it really does. It feels counterintuitive, but it really does set you up with a rush of energy that you can use to take through whatever else you're doing, which is so awesome. So let's enjoy that for the rest of today. All right, so our next set, we're sticking with perpetual motion, but we're ramping up the work interval. So it's going to be 45 seconds this time. So we're adding on an additional 15 seconds to the work interval. Still 3 exercises, still 3 times through. And here are the exercises. We're going to start with boat rocks, which can feel really weird if you're not engaging your core. So we're gonna take this pike position. It's familiar if you've done TikToks with me, but I want you to make sure you've engaged your core to round out your back, particularly your lower back. So to get an idea of it, if you're sitting straight up and you take a fist and go to punch at your stomach, what is your natural reaction? Well, it's to engage all of those muscles and sort of pull them backwards towards your spine, and that helps to round out your spine. And why we want to do that is because we're going to be rolling onto our back and then back up into this pike. And we're just going to be rolling back and forth and back and forth. So we need to keep the core constantly engaged, rounding out the lower back so that we can do this. Because if we have a flat back here and we try to roll backwards, ow, you're just going to get stuck. You know, like now I'm a turtle. Now I'm like, help, help, I've fallen and I can't get up. All right, our next exercise is going to be mountain climbers. Oh man, and I think today we're gonna do a double-legged mountain climber variant. So we're going to do the variant where the knees come to the outside of both elbows at once. So we're not going to be switching from side to side. That's a different variant. We're still starting from that plank position, jumping our feet forward. So we've got our knees on the outside of each elbow, then jumping back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, okay? So just to see it from the front, my hands are here, I'm in that plank, I jump forward, my knees are on the outside of my elbows each time, okay? And then for our third exercise, flaming scarlets for 45 seconds too. That's cruel. That's cruel, but we're here to do it. We're here to work out. So arms in a V for victory, jumping back and forth, one foot to the other, making sure that your knees are coming up above the crease in your hips. So we're not trying to prance like that. We are trying to get our knees up high enough that if I'm holding my hands out in front like this, my knee hits my hand each time. All right? Whew. Okay, so boat rocks, double-legged mountain climbers, flaming scarlets. Let's get going. Oh my goodness. So everybody on your mat, get yourself ready for those boat rocks, because as soon as the timer goes, we are moving. Oh yeah, there we are. So this exercise, I really want you to focus in on your core, okay? I want you to be aware at every moment of whether your core is actively engaged or not, because this can be one where I've talked a lot about how ab exercises it's easier to try and compensate with other muscle groups and not actually work the abs with the exercise. And with something like this where we're just sort of rolling around, we can lose track of where our abs are. So pay attention at each point. All right. And then for our mountain climbers, you want to make sure that you have a rhythm going and that you're not going jump forward, bounce, 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 jump back, bounce, bounce, bounce. You want to be able to, as soon as you land, you're moving back to the previous position. All right? It's hard. It's really hard. And it takes a while to get there. It took me ages to get there. I absolutely I would get a few in. I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm going. And then I'd be like, oh God, I need to just bounce. Okay? So pay attention to your ability to move back and forth and to start your next movement before you have a chance to settle. But now you're doing flaming scarlets. Oh man, it's intense. They are really intense. That's why we usually save them for our cardio tabatas. Make sure those arms are staying in that V position, all right? Elbows straight. We're not making a U like that, okay? If you feel your knees are slowly no longer lifting as high as they were, then really do everything you can to start pulling them back up. It is so intense. But as you get stronger, as you get more powerful, you'll feel the difference, and it is amazing. It's just so cool when you hit that point where you're like, oh, wow, I can keep this going. I can lift my knees a little bit higher now, you know? And I can keep that momentum going for a longer period of time. So, always pat yourself on the back every time that you notice that something's improved, that you've got a little more strength than you feel like you had the other day, that you've got a little more stamina than you feel like you had the other day, because those are the moments that keep us energized and excited, when we can feel the amazing things that our bodies can do. So you always want to notice them. You always want to celebrate them. It's important. It's important to celebrate our successes without assuming that all the work is done. And you know what? It's not a perfect metaphor for exercise, because sometimes we get to a particular level of performance and we go, I'm comfortable here. I want to be able to just maintain this. This is the level of performance that I want in order to live the healthiest life that I can, and to be able to do the activities I want to do. And that is totally valid, okay? We're not in a capitalist game where we have to have never-ending growth, never-ending improvement, okay? Because it's not possible for capitalism, and it's not possible for our bodies. There is always going to be an upper ceiling. But if you are still working on hitting specific goals that you would like to hit, then it's really important to congratulate yourself when you make movement towards them, when you achieve one of your goals, even if it was a smaller one, you know, even if you have greater overall goals that you want to make it to, still don't forget to congratulate yourself when you hit one of the smaller ones. And you notice that all of your effort is paying off. It is helping you to strengthen and gain more power and just have more fun in this ridiculous machine that we have to pilot throughout our lives, you know? That's really, I think for me, what it comes down to is that I want to have fun in my body, you know? If this is going to be the vessel that I travel through life in, I want to enjoy being in it. And that can be really hard. That can be hard for everybody. There are obviously people for whom that is particularly hard, people who struggle with body dysmorphia, people who struggle with eating disorders, you know. There are plenty of reasons why that can be really difficult, and I absolutely understand that. And, you know, I'm not a psychologist, so I don't have brilliant techniques. You know, that toolbox, all I have is from my own therapy experiences. So I am not the professional that you want to talk to for that help. What I want to do, what I want to focus on, is just doing what I can to help you enjoy residing in your body, and achieving that by doing these ridiculous classes and throwing ourselves around in our living rooms and patting ourselves on the back when we go, oh wow, I'm feeling some muscle that I know wasn't there a few weeks ago. So yeah, it's a hard thing. I've struggled with it a lot in my life, and I really have only started to feel happier again in my body over the last 6 months, honestly, 6 months to a year. And, you know, so I know how hard it can be, even in the best of times. So, you know, if you're still struggling to find that balance, don't worry about goal setting yet. Don't worry about, oh, I want to be able to do this many reps in 30 seconds. I want to be able to, you know, move this far, sprint this far, what have you. Just make it your goal to show up on your mat and to move as much as you can, okay? And if you can do that, even if you only feel like you're able to move for half of the class, that's still half a class's worth of movement that you didn't do yesterday. And that's still a lot of movement. It's still really good for your body, you know? So don't go into this process, don't go into this journey feeling like you need to immediately be at the top, because that's how we burn ourselves out. We have this immediate expectation of perfection from ourselves. And you've heard me say it over and over again, perfect is the enemy of good. And I can say that as an anxious human who has been a high achiever for most of my life, and all of the good and all of the bad things that implies. Perfect is the enemy of good. If you are always expecting and insisting that you be perfect, you're gonna give up on a lot of things before you even get started on them. So just show up. Just show up, get on your mat, move your body around, pat yourself on the back, because you showed up, you got on your mat, you moved your body around. And if your brain starts to try to make you feel bad that you're not doing everything, just remind your brain that I'm up here not doing everything either, you know? And clearly, exercise is still working. Exercise is still good, so there we go. That's our body positivity talk today. It's important to have those. There's way too much toxic body image bullshit in the fitness industry. It's something that I really worry about a lot. And if you ever feel like I am going down that route at any point, please call me out on it. Call me out on it immediately, because I want this to be a safe space for everybody. Full stop. All right? Okay. We're ramping up that perpetual motion interval to 1 minute work intervals. All right? Still 3 exercises, still 3 times through. Here are our exercises. All right. First one is going to be skips. We like doing skips for these long ones because it is a little lower impact. It's cardio, but lower intensity than, say, Flaming Scarlets, so it's easier to maintain. We're just skipping in place over and over again. As I lift one knee up, the opposite arm comes up with it. I hop on that standing leg, and then I switch. I'm not trying to move around on the mat. I'm not, moving forward or backward through space. I'm just staying right here on my mat and skipping away. Second exercise is going to feel a little bit like deja vu, but it is slightly different. We're going to do our chaturanga to a downward dog today, with my usual caveat that I am not a yoga instructor. So this is not the standard yoga position. This is simply something that I've pulled together from experiences in yoga and really should give a different name. So we're going to bring ourselves down from this plank as if we are doing a push-up. When I get my chest down here, I'm gonna leave my hips by the floor, extend my arms so that my back is upright, looking up at the ceiling, then push against those hands until I'm back in the downward dog position. Back to that plank, down, up, push back, etc., etc. And then our third exercise is going to be ankle reaches. So we are just going to lie on our backs, legs extended straight up towards the ceiling. No bend in the knees, please. If you do have to bend the knees, and if that is a modification you have to do, okay, totally understand. But try and make sure that your feet are still pointing straight up towards the ceiling. So if I have my legs here when they're straight, I don't want to bend my knees so that my feet are moving away from me. I want to bend my knees and bring them towards me so that my feet are still straight up towards the ceiling. And the reason being, we're going to engage that core so that it lifts our shoulders and our upper back off the floor, and then we're going to reach up and tap a hand to the outside of the opposite ankle, and we're just going to go back and forth and back and forth, okay? So those are our 3 exercises. We've got skips, chaturanga to downward dog, and ankle reaches. 1 minute work intervals, my friends. Okay, so here we go. We are getting ready. We're on our mats, and we are gonna get going in just a sec with our skips. So here we are. We are almost to the end of class. Depending on when we finish this, there may be one more thing that we do, but we are almost to the end of class. So we want to be pushing a little bit for a little bit more energy and power. You know, we want to come out of class knowing that we used all of the energy at our fingertips. And it feels different when we're not doing a cardio class. You know, those classes are so much more high energy overall, and you have this expectation that you're gonna get to the end and really just pump all of that energy out. You know, here, we're still needing to maintain enough energy to make it through a full minute of work on these different exercises. So we still do need to pay attention to how we are apportioning our energy. So it's not quite as simple as if we're doing a cardio tabata and we're just going, okay, we gotta leave all of this energy here on our mats. But we can still challenge ourselves to go a little bit harder, a little bit more power, and just see what that means. Maybe it means that I'm able to do another rep or 2 of the chaturanga before I get to the next exercise. Or maybe it just means for today that I am able to keep performing the exercise for the entire minute. Maybe I wasn't able to do that last time, and that is a huge success. If you were not able to keep going for the entire minute, and now you are, that is such a huge success, and you should always be really, really proud of it. Whew. Oh man, ankle reaches are one of those exercises that feel really easy to me until they don't. And generally, I don't remember that until we're doing them for a full minute, and I realize how much work my abs are doing and how intense it is to keep my legs straight up and down for a full minute. So if you're having that realization too, don't worry, you're in good company. All right, so now we're on our second time through. Ooh, possible cat sighting. Fingers crossed, all my love, all my good vibes. Talk to you soon. All right, we're on our second time through. So you are back to your skips, imagining that you are moving through a beautiful, smoke-free meadow in a mountain somewhere that is not on fire. You can tell that the wildfires are very high on my mind right now. And not just because the state that I live in is one of the states that is really struggling to tackle them, but just because because it is just a really intense and terrifying reminder that we've got a lot of work to do if we want to have any chance of stemming the tide of climate change. And if we're not able to do it, then things like massive wildfires that are soon going to be beset on all sides by hurricanes, apparently, are going to become more and more common. And I don't want that, and I don't think any of you want that either. Oh, water. I do love you, water. All right, my friends, you're coming to the end of the second chaturanga to downward dog. Make sure that you are still paying attention to your form. It can get really easy, especially in these longer sets, to start to let our minds wander, start to forget to focus on our form. So as we're getting into position for our second round of ankle reaches, I want you to really commit your brain to staying involved, staying active, paying attention to what's being done, making sure that you are initiating the movement through core activation, okay? Not because you're lifting your head off the ground and trying to sort of pull it up and follow it. Not because I'm reaching an arm up and pulling myself up that way, but because I have engaged my abs, and their engagement and their contraction is lifting my shoulders and my upper back off the floor, all right? If that's hard for you to do, that's an awesome thing to discover. It means that you have some work to do to strengthen this muscle group, okay? And that is a good thing to know. You know, I talk about our core all the time because it is a really, really important stabilizing muscle group, and it just, having a strong core helps us with so much. It helps to stabilize our backs and our hips when we're doing things, so that any outside force, any outside weight that we're trying to lift or move doesn't shove them in unhealthy directions that they're not expecting to go in. So I focus a lot on the core. Probably has something to do with just having been a dancer for almost my whole life. Obviously, there's a lot of focus on core work in many dance traditions, and you know, it's something that got pretty well ingrained in me. But I do think that even external to that, that our cores are a really important muscle group, and the more that we can do to strengthen them and help them and to use them as stabilizing influences as we are moving our bodies through space, the better and safer we will be. So always pay attention to how your core is activating, even in an exercise that doesn't seem to be about ab work specifically, all right? Because even in those exercises, you will still feel the places where an engaged core is giving you a hand, helping you out with that exercise. All right, my dears, we're ankle reaching. We're almost done. So remember to keep breathing, okay? No holding our breath. Our bodies want that oxygen. They want to be moving it through the body into the energy systems of our muscle fibers so that we can keep moving ourselves around like this. So always keep breathing, no holding your breath. And now pat yourself on the back. Woo! Yeah. All right. So we are going to do one more thing. It's not going to be quite as long, but I think ultimately that is going to be a good thing. First, grab some water. First, grab some water. And now, since you are all wise and intelligent folks who have taken class with me for a while, you probably can guess what we're ending with. We are ending with toe squats. Toe squats, but we're only doing 5 minutes, okay? We are only doing 5 minutes of them. Here is my challenge to you. I'm gonna be letting you take the rests that you want to through that process. As always, I want you to make sure that you are doing the same number of reps before each rest, okay? I challenge you to increase the number of reps that you do before each rest by at least 5. So if the last time that we did toe squats, you were doing 25 reps between each rest, I want you to do 30 today, okay? If you were doing 40 last time, I want you to shoot for 45. I want you to push yourself to get at least 5 reps above where you were the last time, all right? That is today's challenge. That is today's challenge. And taking every challenge with the caveat that if that's not where you are today, if you need to modify, if that just ends up not being possible for you today, that's totally fine and I understand, okay? But I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't trying to push a little bit, because as we've talked about, one of the things our brains like to do is get us into a comfortable groove where we can do the amount of work required of us with the minimum amount of energy. So sometimes we need that push. We need that push to remind ourselves that, no, I have more ability than just this. I can do more, okay? So I'm gonna be that voice today. Let's try and get ourselves up for at least 5 sets, or at least 5 reps more. All right, on your mats, we'll go over form as we start because this is a pretty common exercise. So if you've never done this before, take a second to watch me. I'm standing straight up and down. I'm keeping my back straight up and down, and I am going to squat and let my heels come off the ground so I come all the way down here and then stand back up. So I'm going back and forth, keeping my back straight up and down helps to make this exercise make more sense, because if I'm not letting myself, squat, let my butt come backwards at all, if I'm just trying to keep my torso straight up and down, I can only go like this far before my body's like, my Achilles are like, well, I guess we live here now, So concentrating on that can really help tie the exercise together. And one of the things that can help, again, engaging that core, all right? So my core is engaged. It has control over my shoulders, my torso, all of this, so that none of this weight is going to move anywhere I'm not expecting it to. So that I can really just go down and up and down and up. And you see how I'm able to speed myself up. I'm able to go at a faster pace because I have this engaged, so I have control over all this weight and it's not flopping around and pulling me off balance, which is really important because at the bottom of this position, we're on a very small surface area. We're only up on the balls of our feet. So we're not getting any help from our heels, just the balls and the ankles. And if we're not doing everything we can to control the rest of the movable weight, then it's really easy for, my torso to go this way and suddenly I'm falling over. Best case scenario, I've fallen and I have to reset. Worst case scenario, I end up pulling something, tweaking something, giving myself an injury, okay? So pay attention to your core and make sure that it's engaged. That was our halfway timer horn. So don't change anything about what you're doing. Just know that you are halfway through that 5-minute timer. Yes! Oh my goodness. Halfway through. We have, only about 2 minutes left now because I've been talking for about 30 seconds. So we are getting much closer. How are you doing on increasing the number of reps you do before each rest? How's that feeling? Are you feeling energized? Are you feeling like, oh wow, that was a lot easier than I was afraid it was going to be? Or are you feeling like, okay, I can do this, but it's a challenge. I have to really concentrate to maintain the form. Both of those are awesome, okay? In the former, you're like, oh, cool. I really was holding myself back from what I can actually do. In the latter, you are learning that, yes, you do have the ability to increase the number of reps. It's still a challenge for you, but it is a meetable challenge. And both of those are really helpful pieces of information. So I want you to really lean into that because someday I want you to feel totally confident going through an entire 10-minute timer without stopping the exercise. It's not necessarily going to be today. It took me well over a year to get to that point, so it is not something that we just go, oh cool, I can do that now. It takes work, it takes consistent effort, and it takes a lot of, I don't think I'm ever going to get there, which, is the story for a lot of this. Hey, my friend, we have 20 seconds left on this timer, so no matter where you are, I challenge you to keep moving, to keep doing reps for the rest of the timer, all right? We are keeping in control of the motion the whole time. We are not letting gravity control us, pull us down, and yes. Oh, good job. Good job, my friends. All right, let us do some stretching. Since we just got out of toe squats, let's start by just folding over the top of our toes, or moving our feet in the opposite way that we were just moving them. So we were just flexing up onto the ball. So now let's go over the top. You should feel a stretch along the top of your foot and leading up into your shin. All right. So make sure that you stretch out both feet. Oh, just really go back and forth a little bit. Hold there for a few counts. And then back and forth a little bit. All right. Shake those feet out. Shake those feet out. Now, let's come down to the floor. Let's start with our quad exercise or stretch, because any excuse, and also it's a good one to do again after we just did a bunch of toe squats. So for the working leg, the leg that's going to be stretching, I have folded it so that my heel is on the outside of my hip. I'm going to try and pull that heel towards my hip as close as I can. So for me, my heel is actively touching my hip right now because I have that flexibility. My other leg, I've just sort of let the knee fall open. The foot is up against the other knee. We're not really worrying about that too much. The main thing is, as we move into the stretch, do not let the knee on the working leg come off the ground, okay? If you start to feel it coming up, that means you need to stop. You have come to the edge of where you can go and still get the stretch, okay? And then we just start letting ourselves backwards until we feel that really intense stretch along the top of our quads. So for some of us, it may be that I let myself back on my hands and I go, ooh, I feel that stretch. Awesome. You don't have to go any farther. For some of us, we can make it down to our elbows before we feel that. Awesome again. And for some of us, we can come all the way down to our backs, okay? And we're going to take a second to really just feel this stretch, settle into it, and try to release any parts, any other muscles, any muscles that are trying to clench. And we're going to take 4 deep breaths, and each time you exhale, I want you to try and sink a little deeper into the stretch, but don't push deeper into the stretch because that is going to activate the muscles and then they're going to start trying to contract, and that causes all sorts of fun complications with the stretch. So just every time you exhale, just try to gently let yourself fall deeper into the stretch. All right, here we go. 4 deep breaths. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. And now we're going to carefully and not very gracefully push ourselves back up. Don't unfold this leg using its own power. Take your hands, one hand to the knee, one hand to the ankle, lift the leg and unfold it in front of you, okay? Stretch out the other leg to meet it. Just shake out those knees. And we've crunched the ankle a little bit in that position, so let's try and release that a little bit. So flex both feet and point and flex and point. And then we're going to roll the ankles first in towards each other in one way and then reverse. All right. Now for the other side. So getting ourselves into that same position. All the same form notes apply. Let's start letting ourselves down into the stretch. Remember, if you only need to come here to feel that really intense stretch, don't feel like you need to try and shove yourself any further. And again, we want to move slowly into position so that we are letting the muscle that's being stretched stay as relaxed as possible. We do not want our brain to send it signals that tell it to activate, because when our muscles try to activate, they automatically try and contract. And this is an eccentric muscle action, which means we are lengthening the muscle. So we don't want to get in the way of that, all right? All right, so you are in the position you can get to for the stretch. We're enjoying the sensation settling into it. And we're going to take our 4 deep breaths, sinking a little more deeply into the stretch with each exhale. And on each inhale, envision the oxygen going straight to where the sensation is most intense. All right? So it can feel, this stretch can feel really intense. So every time you inhale, just visualize all the oxygen going there and trying to soothe that sensation. And every time you exhale, sink a little deeper into the stretch. All right, here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Carefully up. Remember to take your hands to the knee and ankle and move the leg so that it can stretch out straight in front of you. Bring the other leg to meet it. Shake out those knees. Flex the feet and point and flex and point. Roll the ankles, first one way and then the other way. All right. Now we're going to take a butterfly position. So soles of my feet together, just letting my pants get in the way. Just letting your knees fall open like this. And we're going to walk ourselves forward until we are folded over the feet. But what I want you to do, I don't want you to just round over like this, because you're not actually going to get the full stretch, because when we just round over immediately, the lower back is still really far away from the hips and the pelvis, and so you're not getting as much of a stretch. So I want you to try and take a flat back and walk it forward as far as you can. And then when you can't move forward anymore, then you can let the upper back come over. And so you've got your lower back a lot closer, and you'll feel more depth to the stretch in your pelvis and on your inner thigh, okay? So take that flat back position. Let's walk our hands forward, and when you need to, then you can let your upper back come forward and really sink into that stretch. Shake your head out a little bit just to make sure you're not holding your neck. And let's take 4 deep breaths here, okay? Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Walk yourself back up. Oh. Shake around a bit, and I think we are good for today. All right. All right, my friends. Oh, what a wonderful way to start our Saturday mornings. I hope that you had fun. I had a lot of fun. This class always just really pumps me up, gives me plenty of energy for the rest of my weekend, which is what our goal is. So I hope that it does the same for you. I hope you had a good time. This is our last class of the week, so enjoy the time off. I will be back on the stream next week for our usual schedule, so starting on Tuesday, 5:45 p.m. Mountain Time for Perpetual Motion, class where we never stop moving. Then Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. for Jump Around, our cardio class. Friday at 6 p.m. for Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training using found household objects. And back around to Saturday and the weekend kickoff. So if you haven't tried out some of those other classes, please do give them a whirl. They're all a ton of fun. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Facebook and Insta at Blanche Case Fitness, Twitter at Blanche C Fitness. If you are looking for the VODs, the VODs, they are uploaded to my YouTube channel, Blanche Case Fitness, which is also going to get some additional supplementary materials over the coming months. So check that out on YouTube and subscribe to that channel for updates. If you had a good time and feel financially able to donate to help me keep these streams going, I do have a Ko-Fi account, Blanche Case Fitness. Donations are always appreciated, never required. And if you want to help me keep growing this community, keep making awesome content, then please consider following this channel. We're having so much fun. You know, it's getting bigger, and I love it. Love working with all of you. So yeah, have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you back on the stream on Tuesday. Mwah. Have a great day.